We start with a point. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog. Rob Bryanton once again. Now, the last blog in this series was called Beer and Miracles, and we talked about how next time we were going to be looking at one of the polls from my blog. The text version of this blog always has a number of polls at it. You can go there right now. If you go to 10thdimension.com/blog, chances are there'll be 2 or 3 polls that you can vote on right now. Now, because I'm getting kind of behind here with my video blogs being fairly behind the text version of the blog, this time we're going to look at poll 45 and very quickly all the way to poll 52. But poll 45 I want to talk about in particular first of all. And that poll, the question was, by 2020, we will see computers that exhibit signs of consciousness that make them able to deal with complex and contradictory input in the same way that humans do. That poll ended on August 6, 2009. 35.4% agreed, 9.7% said it was impossible, while 54.9% said it was possible, but will take longer than the 2020 target date suggested in the poll. And this is kind of exciting because it became a new winner for the most number of votes ever to occur in the 10th Dimension blog. The previous winner was poll number 34, which was God or the multiverse was the discussion point on that one. That one received 258 votes. This one received 277 votes. What is it about the idea of computers becoming conscious that elicits such a strong response in people? If a computer were to achieve consciousness, would that mean that we human beings are not as special, not as uniquely gifted as we've traditionally believed? In Logic versus Intuition, I described how famous physicist Erwin Schrödinger pointed out that within our universe, life is a unique process which creates pockets of negative entropy or increasing order. And within that context, consciousness and creativity can also be described the same way. In my recent blogs, The Quantum Solution to Time Zero and The Statistical Universe, I've also talked about the role the reversal of entropy might play in the creation of our observed universe, and new scientific theories that support that idea. Is consciousness a force that reverses entropy, that acts as a force pushing against disorder? I would say that if a computer algorithm can become conscious, then the idea that consciousness could exist in other living things, or even within other extra-dimensional shapes and patterns that exist outside of our limited space-time, all move a step closer towards being accepted concepts. A conscious computer would be a big deal. I find it interesting that so few people responding to this poll thought such a leap will never ever occur. Last month, my good friend, Argentina's Mariana Soffer, of the amazingly diverse blog Sing Your Own Lullaby, sent me a link to a blog called The Multiverse According to Ben, a title which, of course, already makes my ears perk up even before I visit the blog. That blog introduced me to the term Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI. According to Wikipedia, AGI is also known as Strong AI, which to my layman's eye looks an awful lot like artificial intuition, as promoted by Monica Anderson of artificialintuition.com fame. I talked about in the original blog that inspired this poll, Logic versus Intuition. Whether my interpretation is accurate or not, what I see in both approaches is a desire to transcend basic computer logic and apply creative leaps that better approximate the processes the human mind implements as it deals with the incredibly complex and often contradictory input it receives from the world around it. Would such a computer be conscious? If a computer sometime in the near future said to you, "Yes, I am conscious," and email conversations with it convinced you that it was conscious, would that mean this ideal had been achieved? That, of course, is the essence of the Turing test, which I've talked about in entries like Poll 41, Is Creativity a Quantum Process?, Norway's Reverse Deja Vu, and Computers and Consciousness. Ultimately, I would say that processes like life, creativity, and intuition are engaged with our space-time in wider windows than our limited one Planck length after another experience, and that's where the magic starts to happen. Last blog in Beer and Miracles, I showed you my definition for a miracle. Any dramatically unlikely occurrence is indistinguishable from a miracle. Now let's look at another poll surrounding another dramatically unlikely event, the Big Bang. And that was poll 46 I want to talk about now. And the question was, many of the great physicists have said that time is an illusion. In the same sense, does that mean the Big Bang is an illusion? 47.9% agreed, while 52.1% disagreed. And that poll ended on August 20th, 2009. One of the quotes I've used most often with this project was this one from Einstein. This separation between past, present, and future is only an illusion. Did Einstein accept that time was an illusion and that there is a way of viewing our reality outside of time where everything happens simultaneously? You bet he did. If you'd like to read all of that blog entry, we'll put up a link for that in the description accompanying this YouTube entry. Moving on to poll 47. Physicist Michio Kaku says, in science, a physical picture is often more important than the mathematics used to describe it. Do you agree with them? And this poll ended on September 4th, 2009. 80.6% said yes, while 19.4% said no. And of course, since what I'm dealing with are pictures rather than mathematics, that's a very flattering response to that poll. I was glad to see that. Moving on to poll 48. Have you ever had your fortune told or a psychic reading done where you were surprised to hear information about yourself the person doing the reading couldn't possibly have known? And that poll ended September 19th, 2009. 36.6% said yes, while 63.4% said no. And I've talked in the past about how with a lot of these more metaphysical occurrences, if you haven't had one yourself, then it's a little harder for you to imagine it. But once somebody has had those experiences, it often moves them from one side of the equation to the other. Moving on to poll 49. Our observable universe is an expanding 3D sphere on the surface of a 4D hypersphere. That poll ended on October 3rd, 2009. 74.6% agreed, while 25.4% disagreed. Let's talk about that poll a little bit. I'm pleased to see how many visitors to my blog were willing to agree with this idea. I suspect a sampling of the general public would show a much lower acceptance of this mind-boggling concept. Imagining a 2D circle being mapped onto a 3D sphere is easy enough for us to do, but our brains tend to hit a conceptual roadblock when we take that up a dimension and try to imagine a 3D sphere being mapped onto a 4D hypersphere. We've talked about the Poincaré conjecture a few times now in entries like, when's a knot not a knot? Why do we need more than 3 dimensions and an expanding 4D sphere? You may want to go read the whole text version of that blog, because we do get into some interesting discussions there. Moving on to poll 50. 45 million year old brewer's yeast, trapped in amber and dormant, immediately sprang back to life when growing conditions were provided. This proves that life is, at its core, a process that is engaged with our reality outside of space-time. That poll ended October 18th, 2009. 56.3% agreed, while 43.7% did not. And of course, this poll question went up around the same time that my last blog entry we were talking about, Beer and Miracles, was posted, which told the amazing story of these ancient yeast cells. I don't have much to add to this idea here except to say that it's interesting to me to see how sometimes my arguments seem to have swayed a lot of people, as I believe we just saw in the previous poll, while in this case, close to half of the visitors to this blog still have trouble buying the idea that life might be a process that is very similar in nature to the strange connections of the quantum world. Moving on, poll 51. Do animals have souls? You were supposed to select 1 for yes, 2 for no, only humans have souls, or 3 for there's no such thing as a soul. That poll ended November 1st, 2009. 59.1% picked choice number 1, which was yes. 8.7% went for choice number 2, only humans have souls. And number 3, 32.2% said there's no such thing as a soul. So that's an interesting set of results there. This means that fully 2/3 of the visitors to this blog at least accept the notion of there being something we can call a soul. Although, if they've been regular readers of this blog, they'll know that my definition of soul is not nearly as specific as some people's, which might have affected the results here. This poll question harkens back to a blog entry from June last year called Do Animals Have Souls? Finally, here's poll 52. We're just kind of ramming through them quite quickly here. Quantum entanglement's instantaneous effects prove that our now exists one Planck frame after another, not within 4D spacetime, but in the fifth dimension where distant points can be directly connected together without violating the speed of light limit. That poll ended on November 15th, 2009. 84.5% agreed, while 15.5% did not. Coming up next, an entry called Seeing Time, Feeling Colors, Tasting Light.